the person
Yes.
that gave me a lift
Right.
to my very first kids ministry service,
Yes.
I ended up marrying.
Amazing.
I met her that day and I married her.
Amazing.
So I got a ministry and a missus on the very same day.
Welcome to the podcast, everybody.
Oh,
It's me, Dave Wakerley.
And me, Funny Man.
We know not every leader in kids ministry is in a big staff team. In fact, more than half of the churches around the world have solo pastors.
It's true.
But no one should be alone in ministry, so we humbly ask you to consider us part of your team. Welcome to the vault, where you keep your most valuable things, and what is more valuable than wisdom? Today, the wisdom will be coming to you from Dan Liach's mouth area.
Yes.
And it's going to be awesome. I know you're thinking, wisdom?
Wisdom?
Funny Man Dan?
Wisdom?
What? You're here?
I was the
And you're
number
cheap.
one. I have the number one quality that all the other guests don't have.
Availability.
Availability.
Yeah, there we go. Wonderful. Well, welcome to the podcast. Before we begin anything else, Dan, let's salute Terry. Hopefully he salutes back and we can begin this podcast. I'm not going to explain it because there's nothing to explain.
Yeah, it wasn't funny when we first did it. It's not funny now.
So today, last episode, we were talking about Dave's wisdom from 25 years of ministry.
Yes.
24.7 years of ministry. Today, we're talking about your
25 years.
25 years, which is a bit less than mine.
Probably 23.
You're younger than
11.
me. You're much younger than me.
Yeah, we was a few months off each other.
Exactly. And we're going to find out the gold, the truths, the gems, the delightful tidbits that kept you in ministry and the lessons that you've learned.
I'm excited to tell you everything I know.
And you haven't seen these questions beforehand?
Now, just look at the timestamps
Yep.
and how long this episode is to
Yes.
work out everything I know. Hopefully, it's not a 3-minute episode.
Right.
If it's 3
Right.
minutes,
If this podcast is almost over, it didn't go well.
yes.
So let's begin, Dan. I know you.
Yes. Yep.
You know me. We've known each other for a long, long time. I'm much older than you. But we're going to go back in time. So if you could pass the time machine over.
Oh, yes, yep, the special time machine.
I don't know how it works, but do your thing. We're going to go back to the very first time you served in church in a children's ministry context.
Oh, well, okay. It all started with a man that wanted more attention than he should have had.
Right, what was his name?
His name was Dan,
Okay.
and he started coming to church.
Yep.
And was so excited
Right.
about the fact
Being the
that,
man.
the fact that people were willing to talk to him.
Oh, okay, right.
And be around. So I then I was going to youth to what I call a powerhouse, so 18 to 25. So I was in that range.
Yep.
And it was Valentine's Day.
Right.
And I decided to come make balloon flowers
Right.
for all the ladies.
For the ladies.
And everyone thought, this is lovely.
Yeah.
It's great how the youth ministry had organised this guy to make the flowers for the ladies.
Yep.
They didn't. I just did it myself for no reason. Just made these flowers for the ladies.
Yep.
And somebody, Christiane Sharp.
Oh, Christiane, shout out.
Shout out. She's not a Sharp anymore. She's a...
Oh my goodness.
Christiane...
Oh, don't throw this at me.
What's Jack's last name?
Jack. Oh, no.
They're
Jack
beautiful.
Policeman. Christiane Policeman.
Okay.
It's going to come to me later on.
So she invited me. She goes, he does balloons. Maybe he can do some kind of performance at my thing called Saturday Night Live, which was on Saturday night.
It was on Saturday Night Church, yes.
And so I went there for the very first time. But the most amazing thing about this, which is not so much kids ministry related, the person that gave me a lift to my very first kids ministry service,
yes,
I ended up marrying.
Amazing.
I met her that day and I married her. So I got a ministry and a missus on the very same day.
That's new, a ministry and a missus.
I've never put that bit in.
No, that's nice. That's good.
So that was exciting. So why did I want to serve is because
you wanted attention.
They asked.
Yeah. That's how it happens.
And I said yes.
And I would have been... I don't know if I was at that service.
You weren't, no.
But I would have been around. Maybe I was in church trying to play games.
Yeah, probably.
Trying to look for the lollies in church.
See last week's
episode for what happens in big church. But you pretty soon were doing other services.
Yeah, funny. They asked me to come a month later to do it again. And I said, yeah, I'm in. But unfortunately, during work... They asked me to do an extra shift at work, and I was so excited because I had this small affliction called I was broke.
Right.
And I'm like, double pay, triple pay, all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
And then I realized I double booked. And so we're just learning about commitment at church. And I decided to make a commitment to take the shift. No, I decided to not take the shift
Right.
and come do another performance. And that particular performance, there were 3 people in the room.
Yeah.
Which was our kids pastor in the city.
Yep.
Helen,
Yep.
our kids event coordinator.
Correct.
Liz.
Yep.
And our kids pastor for
Yep.
the whole of church, every single campus.
And me.
Which was 2. Which was
That's
Julia.
4 then.
And the David Wakerley.
The Dave Wakerley, yeah.
And they all saw me, and that started after you see me, I was invited to come to Hillsong.
Hillsong,
And that
a
was
conference
the
that we're
rest
about
of-
to go to this week.
And the rest is history.
That we do in the July winter school holidays, winter in Australia, in case you're confused by that. I remember that, and that's we that was your audition.
That was my audition.
It's very much like the auditions I hear about for Saturday Night Live.
That's right. Yes.
But then, and as an aside, we don't really know when you got the name Funny Man Dan.
Well, I know the moment it happened,
Right.
but we don't know how.
We don't know who this person was.
Because I did a performance on the first night, the Monday night, and
Uh-huh.
it went well. And they said, "Thank you very much, Dan."
Yep.
And the very next morning, I got up and they said, "Welcome, Dan," and it came on, and someone had made a image,
Oh, a screen.
PowerPoint screen image, a CYC
Yeah.
psych image, and it said "Funny Man Dan," and no one knows who. And at the end,
Right.
they said, "Thanks very much, Funny Man Dan." That was it.
And it pretty much stuck, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And now, if you want to check out more of what Dan does, check out his YouTube channel, Funny Man Dan. But he is one of the greatest, children's entertainers that the world has ever seen.
Oh, thank you.
And also, he's pretty good at juggling
Correct.
and balancing things on
Yeah,
your chin.
juggling a wife and kids and a career.
Oh, and So, my next question. We've gone back in time.
Yes.
Now we're coming forward in time.
Ooh.
So the same question. Why you served back then was because someone asked you, because you needed the validation of a large crowd to make you feel self-worth. And that's changed now.
Yes.
You're much more confident.
You're correct.
You don't need the validation of crowds.
I haven't needed you for a long time, David.
But what you do need is what we're about to find out now. Why, if in the current context, you're going to be serving with me tomorrow. We're going to go to one of our locations. Why? Why would you do that?
Well, that's a great question. I was asked
Yep.
25 years ago, and that's
Yes.
why I served. I'm serving tomorrow because I've been told
Right.
that I have to.
Who told you?
Becky.
Oh, yeah, right. My wife, yes.
But that's actually quite lovely, the fact that back then someone asked me to join the team.
Yep.
And now I'm in a position with, after 25 years of doing this week in, week out, doing it all around the world, being able to travel, visit
Yes.
different kids' ministries, do a lot of different things. And now I'm in the position where I just keep saying, where do you want me? Tell
Yeah.
me where to go. That's where and it's the same thing. It's all of those years of being able to run in such a way that I'm still saying,
Yeah.
like, put me in, coach, put me in.
Yep.
And that's why I'm serving tomorrow.
That's what people say to you. They say, they tell you where to go.
Yep.
They tell you where to get off.
Yes.
They tell you, what are you doing with that rabbit? Put it down, the poor thing.
Yeah.
The question I have now is,
Okay. Yep.
in 25 years, roughly, what have you learnt about creating for kids? And I'm not saying specifically just writing or songs, which we've done. Funny Man Dan songs of some silliness available on Spotify. Any kind of creativity that you're creating for this audience of children. What's the biggest lesson? And you can give me 2. I'll even take 3.
Oh, okay. I was struggling to get one, but sure.
One's great.
Three would be fantastic. Creating for children. The biggest lesson.
Yes, good.
Is children are not small adults.
Okay.
This is not how things work. So
That's
especially
true.
in comedy, people think it's like, stand-up comedy's funny.
Yep.
But kids don't find stand-up comedy funny.
No.
Even you can see examples of children doing stand-up comedy,
Yep.
but it's actually for adults. They might be talking about kids' things,
Yep.
but it is for adults. Kids don't find just telling a story that with witty references and
Yes.
that links back to the previous story and telling a joke. They don't find it funny. In fact, if you tell a kid, especially in America, if you tell a kid a joke, a standard joke, they want to guess the answer.
Yeah.
They don't actually care so much about things. So having actual single jokes is fun. So creating for kids is realized,
Which is why you've written a joke book, Funny Man Dan.
Oh, yes.
Jokes of Some Silliness, coming out soon. Available
soon.
sometime. Maybe by the time you watch this. But again, those jokes are sometimes they still want to guess them.
That's right. And so when writing for kids or doing something for kids, you realize it's a completely different genre.
Right.
And the genre needs to be understood and needs to be studied and needs to be appreciated for what it is.
Oh, 100%.
So instead of some of these kids movies, the good movies versus the bad kids movies.
Mm-hmm.
The bad ones are a bunch of adults who make adult,
Yes.
make movies for adult audience. Just go, oh, we'll put a kids show, and they do lazy jokes. They do this or that. It's like, oh, it's not great. So
absolutely, a very good example is our favourite here in Australia, Bluey.
Yes.
Is a show that has all the adult feels and references, but it's the audience. The most important audience is kids, and they really, I feel like it's one of the best examples of hitting both, but also. Your main focus is obviously hitting a kids audience, because if you don't have a kids audience, you don't have a kids show. Yeah,
and a kid writing content for children, it's not about watering down adult things. Bluey's very, very deep.
You also see I feel like you see genuine reactions from the kids. You're seeing genuine ways that kids behave rather than the way that parents or adults think that kids behave.
Yes.
You'll see their genuine reactions and excitement to ordinary situations. And I think they've really captured that as a very integral part of that show.
Definitely. So I think if I had one tip, it would be kids can handle things. It's not about dilution. It's about distillation. So we don't need to dilute.
I'm going to write that one down.
We need to just put it in a way that kids can understand, but you don't dilute whatever message or whatever you're trying to get out there, or just the entertainment itself.
100%.
Yeah, that's what I've learned.
Wow. Describe what you do and the outcome you want to see. So
I know.
Okay.
That was a good question.
And you ready? And action.
My job as an entertainer or a preacher, I do that sometimes,
just
or an
sometimes,
MC or whatever. Your job is to take an audience from where they are and drop them off somewhere else.
Yes.
To elevate their experience. So to engage them, take them on a journey, and then to place them back in a better position, more engaged, more connected, more invested into the experience that you're providing.
Yep.
And this is so important, David, because this...
How important is it?
It's so important because this helped me when I got to a point in my ministry time where I started hating what I was doing, because I would only judge the success of a performance or an experience depending on where I dropped people off. So I'd only be happy where I had an experience where they were peaking at the end, where it was the most amazing experience and everyone's laughing and kids are wetting themselves literally and figuratively. Like, it's so exciting. But then I realized actually, and then times where it wasn't that great. And I remember I went to perform in America, and did about 10 different performances in one church over a week, and none of them were, to my standards, any good.
Yeah.
Right, I'm like, none of them kind of hit those highs, and the feedback I got from the organisers were just very positive. Everything that I've never seen anyone be able to engage the kids like you do, and I'm like, what?
Right.
I'm like, but I didn't do anything, and then I realised that particular church, they had an engagement problem.
Right.
Where the kids weren't engaged, and the fact that I engaged them
to a certain level
was incredible.
Yeah.
And in fact, I've been back to that church thing, and their engagement levels even bigger. So, an audience, depending on audience, you find this in stand-up comedy, is they're really determined how great of a show that they get. So sometimes where you've had the most amazing shows in the world, it's because the audience were peaking when you got there, and all you did was take them. So I've stopped judging my effectiveness on the top of where we go, but more of, did I do my job of taking the audience from here to here, and that's all I need to do.
Lovely. Good answer.
Thanks.
Good answer. It's up there, Steve.
It's up there.
It's up there. Final question.
Yes.
We're going to go back now in time, but I'm going to take you back in time,
Okay.
like you did with me last week.
Oh, yes.
I am now young Dan.
Hello, young Dan.
I'm super skinny. I can fit through a tennis racket.
Yep.
If you true story. One of Dan's tricks,
I
because his bone structure is that of a tiny child, is that he can fit his whole body through a tennis racket. So that I know it's hard to imagine.
Yes.
But here I am, little Dan. Oh, I need validation.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell me something from the future.
Okay.
What do you want to say to little Dan?
Little Dan.
Yeah.
I know
you're huge.
Yeah, you learn to love it.
Okay.
Little Dan, I know you're excited.
Oh.
I know you've got lots of ideas. I know that you've got big plans.
Ooh.
I just want to let you know from the bottom of my heart, this is really going to help you.
Okay.
Nothing.
Okay.
I've got to word this correctly.
Okay. This is really good.
This is really
I
good.
want to write this down.
You do write this down.
Okay. Let me get out of my tennis racket.
Nothing that you do
Yeah.
is important at all.
Okay. Oh, great. Oh, thanks.
You need to take the pressure off.
Okay.
There is a...
So if they don't clap for me, the world's not going to end?
the world's not going to win.
Okay.
But the great thing is there's someone very important who loves you very much.
Oh, yeah?
And it's more about going on the journey with him
Okay.
than what the...
Jesus. Right.
With
So not my wife?
No.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's more important of being a part of the journey
Yeah.
rather than where the journey takes you.
By the way, I don't think I'm not married yet, so is there hope?
There's hope.
Great.
The girl who brought you here to your first service...
Oh, wow.
You should spend some time with her.
Okay, I will. Oh, thanks, old Dan. Dan Liacha, that is great. I love it. And look, I think what you're saying is that yes, your life is not the sum of one performance.
Correct. Everything was so important back then.
Right.
None of it's that important.
Thanks, everybody, for being a part of the Vault. I asked Dan some questions today, but we need more questions from you. How do they get them to us, Dan?
Well, they first
Not all the steps. Just cut to the chase.
Provider? Okay.
Cut to the chase.
Send an email to thevault@hillsong.com.
What's that?
Thevault@hillsong.com.
See you later, everybody, on the next Vault.
Bye.